Dear friends, welcome to Lions Wire Politico Show. Our today's guest is a seasoned political scientist, Ilya Levkov, founder of Liberty Publishing House since 1984. Ilya, today's our talk is going to be on intra-Jewish wars of our days. Generally, Jews unite when faced with external existential threat. However, within Jewish nation and Jewish society, both in Israel and elsewhere in diaspora, there is plenty of animosity. We are very divided as a nation. And right now, there is a significant conflict within Jewish nation playing out. Would you please elaborate and comment what are the forces that are unfolding their game at the moment?
Well, the short answer is Jews, because this is the intra-Jewish wars. And intra-Jewish wars is nothing new in Jewish history. We remember the problem, first of all, Jews didn't want to leave Egypt. And when they left, they kvetched, we had such a great food in Egypt, and here we got nothing, with nothing. Thereafter, as you know, they suspected Moses and the Almighty. Later on, there were clashes, but the war happened much more, I would say. The classical is, of course, the Jewish war of Maccabees. Most of the Jews didn't rush to it. A previous conflict, if not a war, was, of course, the assimilation of Jews to Hellenism. And in more recent times, I would like to mention just a couple of things in order to get the feeling. Even the book of Exodus, if you remember, there was a black spot when Ari ben Knan had when he arrived to Israel, and it was his uncle. It was his uncle which did not speak to him for ages, and with his father. His name was Akiva. And it's interesting, and there it was the first so-called wide explosion of clashes within the Israeli military and political things. And of course, we know that before that, I just want to sidekick, but for this reason, interesting, one of the astute politicians of the Soviet Republic just started was no other but Trotsky. How did it happen? Lenin offered him to be the Minister of Interior. Minister of Interior, it's under it, it's NKVD, OGPU, and all those internal security organizations, infamous, And Trotsky said, as a Jew, I should not be in that position. To control the Russian population and the Jewish population. And therefore, he preferred to stay away and be the grandeur marshal of the communist vision to have a permanent revolution in various countries. But that's simply to them. Later on, we know in Israel what happened when there were three organizations, actually 3 or 4, Etzel, which was Irgun, also called Lehi, and Haganah. They were politically associated between the socialist, central socialist Israelis and the right wing. The right wing was, of course, the forefather of this was Jabotinsky, and later on, this flag, the idea was carried by Menachem Begin. And there were clashes and bloody clashes and accusations, and there was blood. There was a bad blood. The Right-wingers accused Haganah that they are collaborators, and even gave some secret spots where the militia of right wing clashed with them. As you know, one of those was the killing of Swedish representative Count Bernadotte. I lived close to that corner, near Palma, on the Palmach Street. So it's I have many here, kind of a personal contacts, and I will brief it because it shows kind of that history passed very, very close to me on certain stages later.
Yeah, there was a lot
And
of.
of course, later on we have another level, and this was the clash between the primarily diaspora, primarily in the form of the World Jewish Congress, and Nahum Goldman, who represented this and Zionist organization. And there was this notion, who is the Tsar of the Jews nowadays? We're talking about 40th and 50th and even 60th, Later, we have Kreisky. Remember, he was the prime minister, prime minister of Austria. And he also has this mantle, Who are those Israelis? Why do they have the superior position when we actually represent very, very developed countries in this particular case, and are not under them? There was this notion, who is the Tsar of the Jews, as though there was a certain, it was not stated openly, but it was stated why the Israelis should get advice, superior advice, if not going to public conflict, worldwide public conflict with the state of Israel. Why? That thing. So this was this. Before I come to this, and the modern conflict begins with five people, 5 Jews, who went in 1988 to Sweden to meet with Yasser Arafat. Remember, Oslo begins in 1993, It's still, we have at least 5 years ahead of time, 5 Jewish goodniks, in quotation mark, went there. One of them is associated with the present conflict that was ignited by the speech of Senator Schumer from New York. We will come, and this is the main issue today, but before that, I would like to recall that about 5 years ago, Senator Schumer, in front of the Supreme Court of the United States, threatened two associated judges of the Supreme Court, and this is primarily was the Judge Brett Kavanaugh. As you know, there were hearings, there was this, everybody knows, and he used a line which is, I would say, not a proper one. Neither regular civility, not in American civility, and of course, not by a Jewish politician. He was then a minority. He was not then the majority leader of the Senate. He was a minority, and he said, Kavanaugh, and mentioned another name, I forgot, you will never know what will hit you. It was an ugly public threat. this language, especially now when we trying to understand what Trump meant when he said there will be blood in street. Different story. It's China, it's electrical cars and all that. However, there was a debate about the abortion. Therefore, I would say such a statement when the abortion, talking about aborting life, and the threat to the judge of the Supreme Court, United States Supreme Court, also has included the word, you don't know what will hit you. Usually it's a sentence that you don't know what truck will hit you, This is a
it's
spoken word. So this was very, very improper, to say the least, if not bad. Just imagine for a moment, why would Americans with a name, with a senator, a Jewish senator, who is rather radical nowadays, why would they excuse him such a language? And to what extent, I might say, it even states that those are not American patriots, So, at this point, I would like to mention a couple of sentences that Schumer said, and the main line of it, and unlike younger American, I remember how hard it was to achieve that dream in the state of Israel, and clutching my transistor, he was in high school, think that, and during the war, wondering if Israel would be pushed into the sea. That is, he wants to show that he is aware of existence, that Israel is on the border of existence, because only recently two states, Egypt and Jordan, agreed with to sign a peace treaty, but it's not a peace treaty truly. It is the absence of war. You see, an absence of war is not a treaty. Israel went this way, not demanding much more. We could have been, but they understood clearly that it is Egypt and Jordan knocked out themselves from the Arab coalition that would repeat their invasion into Israel. And it was 48, 56 questionably, 67, 73. At least they knocked them out of this coalition, and
reduce the risk.
Israel could breathe a little bit differently, which in a way had also a negative impact, i.e. that there were two things. One is they are not a death threat to Israel, that is remaining countries. What? Lebanon, for sure will not. The story is that nobody in Israel in old days, they were saying, we don't know who will be the first partner for peace in Israel, but we for sure know who will be the second, and it will be Lebanon. How much did we know and understood those days? So Schumer actually replied and to the rumors that were going around, said the United States demands from Israel to do certain things which will bring into life the Palestinian
state, the two-state solution.
So there were many of those so-called goodniks, so try to do good. Those 5 American Jews, the leading was a woman. I will names will fly away from me. I will tell you immediately it was Menachem Rosenkrantz, what's the name? Menachem Rosenzaf, not Krantz. But the first one was Rita Hauser. She was, political organization in the Middle East Institute, something like this. She's not an academician in political science or history. She's a lawyer who discovered that to be in the forefront of a certain organization brings more exposures than a normal lawyer can gain. And those 5 people, in a way, against the will of Israel, they had no control. They even didn't know that it will happen. It happened in 1988, went by themselves in order to meet Arafat and to legitimize him. They gave the legitimacy to Arafat like nobody else, long before when later on Israel was sucked into the Oslo Accords. And I just want to tell you, the bottom line of this accord were 6,000 dead people. From there till 2023, I am including those that were murdered there and the soldiers only in this particular the war which goes on now in Gaza. That is, people take upon themselves responsibility of the utmost, representing nobody, you understand, and go and fly. It's like, during World War II, to fly to Berlin and start negotiation. Towards the end, in the January, February 45, yes, there were some contacts, but not from the Jews. It was Jews know about it, and this was Himmler was trying to do something to change his mask or to change his essence, not the mask, in order to show that he understands. And they were willing to release some 500 or 5,000. Once again, I don't recall 400 women that were marching, So to do some symbolic act of saving Jewish people. It was January, February 1945. I will remind to everybody that the war ended in May 8, 1945. So, at this point, I would like to talk about how many people died in Israel during these 4 wars, 48, 56, 67, and 1973. It's a give and take. We're talking about from over 20,000 people. 20,000 people. Israel suffered from terrorists and war. That is, there are 2 numbers, the civilian and the military. This was the military, 20,000. So once again, you understand how much Israel paid, and I'm watching now the Israeli programs. And
most of it was during when Israel had much smaller population, right? Israel grew with time to almost 10 million people. But
yes,
during 6-day war, it was 3.5 million people, so 20,000. I think 6-day war.
By that time, or 6-day war, what you did, 3 million people. But by this time, I can give you the numbers actually. That is, in 48, there were almost 2,000 people died. I have it broken here, but I don't want to.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
So, and here we have 2 shifts. Israel allowed circumstances, there will be guilty people, responsible people in the Israeli government and leadership to happen what happened on October 7. And second thing, which is an important, that the leaders of Hamas knew and stated clearly that there is such dichotomy within the Israeli nation that this is the right place to knock it, and we will see what happens. And that was, of course, 9 months, 9 months of daily protests in Israel against the government and against personally the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, about taking chance, just imagine who is here among the American jury has the standing to say, no, you are doing wrong, though you have the majority. Though the 80% of Israelis in this point now support this government, 80%, when was in the United States 80% people supported one government?
This is predominant majority.
It's unbelievable, and yet it was stated clearly, said the government must go. You know, if you studied the American international politics after World War II, let's say, yes, they were, listen, the war ended. The war ended when they agreed, the Allies agreed to destroy the two states and their leaders, the Nazi Germany and the fascist military of Japan. This was agreed by the three. The war was going on towards the end, and yet United States bombed cities with plenty of children in them, Hamburg and Dresden. Of course, later on, United States bombed the Hiroshima and Nagasaki, because they understood they can finish the war, but it will cost circa 500,000 people. So the question is, yes, there were civilians in many cases there, but nobody changed their position to that agreement to destroy those societies and reshape them under the military-controlled environment in Germany and in Japan. So it's not something new. When the war goes, we know even precisely ratio between the civilian and the military. And yet the Israeli, in case of Israeli wars, and this particular one nowadays, it has never been in any war such a low ratio, 1 to 1.4 approximately, or 1.6. Once again, there's so many numbers.
Yeah, but if you compare this to what British aviation did to Dresden and Munich, I think during Second World War, they leveled the city, and there were millions of civilians dead.
Yes, Dresden
was just leveled.
Yes, completely. People
this civil population, most of it dead.
And they knew it, and the idea was, it was a strategic calculation to break the spirit of the German society. Later on, the studies proved that it didn't reach this goal, unfortunately, you understand? So, and here we have now, we are coming with this war. First of all, I might have said it, but the day of the war, the 7th of October, President Biden, in a statement from the White House, stated immediately, we have no daylight between our allies, Israel. We will support, 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 and it's ended. And of course, we have to pursue the solution of establishing Palestinian state. People were not yet buried, but he already, the horror that they had no equal since Shoah, Holocaust, occurred just this day, today, and he is thinking the President of the United States puts a caveat against this evil people and organization. Yes, but they will remain the neighbors, legitimate neighbors of Israel. It's incomprehensible, or as it's stated in that, classical movie, Princess Bride, inconceivable, if you saw it or know about it.
Yeah.
So here we have, and now we come. So first of all, these five people indeed did a bad, bad thing. And nowadays, why I come to those five people, not what they did only in 1988, but 3 days ago, Menachem Rosenzaft wrote an article on Schumer's ultimatum and how he glorified him, that Schumer repeated these words, that Israel must have elections and have a new government, and this new government will be better. How could it be better if it's a legitimate government which has a plurality? They simply don't like it. They don't like the national wing and the religious wings of the partners of the present coalition. But at this point, as you know and we know, it's a nation. It's a military military coalition. Uh, Two members of the opposition joined the government in order to indeed support it. So one of those members is Benny Gantz, a former minister of defense, and many other things. And I maybe will go and tell you a little bit, Benny Gantz, who did a very, very, how do you say, improper move, i.e., he informed the prime minister of Israel, he is going to take a visit to United States and meet with some people. To which the Prime Minister Netanyahu responded, we have only one prime minister at the time who speaks on behalf of the government, not two and not 1.5. So, indeed, he met here with Gantz met Harris, as we know. That nobody wanted to talk to her, and though nobody talks to her, she had a rating below anything, 30-something% of popularity. And he went back to Israel. This move by Schumer, where he said, we need the new government, to the surprise of everybody, he answered, no, we are not going to accept those terms by the United States, which was surprising. He just finished his visit to United States, and he is one of the close people, of the three people that are extremely, extremely close and loyal to any terms of the United States. The other one, Lapid, and the third one, Ehud Barak. They will do anything, but they have no standing. They have to have elections. Elections are in 2026. So what is the reason to take the majority of the present government and try to dismember it? United States never it did several things like this. We can say, let's say, they did it in Europe, in Greece, 1948, saved the Greece because British had no money to support their operation in Greece. They did it in Iran in 53. It's a different story. Once again, it was a British plan, but they could not sustain it and implement it, and therefore the CIA helped them. CIA also made the coup in Vietnam when they brought actually to the killing of the prime minister. And it goes on and on and on.
Cuba, you can talk about.
Yeah, but this is a different, United States owes Israel a lot, a lot. I will tell you only two elements, and this is the tight, very tight relationship between the CIA, because United States, because Israel obtained for them the things that they could not, and they used it as the main weapon against the communist Soviet Union, i.e. the secret speech of Nikita Khrushchev in February 1956. It went different story. Long story. I don't want to go into this, but I met this person in Jerusalem who working on a radio, special radio toward diaspora, and it's he who, through his ex-girlfriend, obtained all that. Secondly, what Israel caused to United States, it's to glorify its weapons by during the 6-Day War. Never before in history of the United States, there was no better salesperson of American weaponry like Israel. Never, you understand, and remains as such. And now surpasses, because all the Americans' aeroplanes are being adapted and adjusted to the Israeli avionics. And let's remind, and therefore, by the way, United States was displeased, was non-pleased and more when China wanted to buy American aeroplanes. Israeli adjusted airplanes to China and said, no. They said, it's our technology. We're not going to show. Yes, you improved, you adjusted, you that, but it's not yours and not your right to do so. And then, of course, just a sidekick, Israel developed the new military plane Lavi, which United States boycotted and did not let to come to fruition.
However, was it United States that didn't let Lavi to proceed, or was it Ehud Barak who killed the project?
Well, it was in the early
1980.
90s. I don't know if Barak was then a member of the government. But speaking about this, so the United States now would like to have that trio, Benny Gantz, Lapid, and Barak.
Mm-hmm.
Barak, I give you an idea to show you how come that was wise man, the most decorated soldier in the history of Israel, suggested the following thing when he was talking about the establishing Palestinian state, how to make it all together. So he came with the idea to have a tunnel from the West Bank to Gaza and thus create one state. Can you imagine? Can you imagine what a havoc it would have been now when Hamas, even separated from West Bank, gains their 70% of support and more.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention that Abu Mazen, the head of the PLO, to that point did not criticize Hamas for the massacre of October 7, Neither is Egypt, nor is Jordan. A nice, peace-loving friends Israel has it there. And here comes Senator Schumer, Wilmer, and such. I'm sorry, I'm sliding.
Switching to Hebrew.
Yeah, and states we have to have elections. We need a new prime minister. Under what right? And why is he repeating it publicly, officially from the Senate? You know, in a way, he says, you don't know what happened to you if you will not listen to us. Today is March 18. I will say today, United States demanded to have precise plans how Israel will complete its attack against Hamas in Rafah or Rafih, as it in Arabic. And they should not only submit the precise plan, how will they do it, but they must send a team of top Israeli political leaders to come to Washington and to agree to each and every item. What is that? What for? The bottom line is, I'll tell you, President Biden needs a victory. So he can gain a victory if he will help Ukraine to capture the Crimea and to give Ukrainians all the weapons that they need to have a long distance, because they don't have practically an air force. They do using artillery, and artillery is Russian.
Yeah.
Is American, and American controls how long. That is normally the artillery hits 70 to 75 miles. The next stage is 130, 150, and the third stage 300. So America still did not provide Ukraine with a stage 2 rocket to 130, 150 miles. Now, if you want to be a winner, and he needs it desperately for the coming November, create a victory of substance. Don't twist the arms of a little Israel. You understand? And this is now have been implanted by Senator Schumer to that level, that it became obviously that the Jews who vote 75% for Democrat Party, also to that degree they are loyal, that they can even twist the arms of the Israelis during this military conflict. And I can go on and on and on. I just want to give you a little bit about guns, how many things, at least the guns, he's a pivotal man in the present opposition who joined the coalition for the days of war. But the thing what he did, I have here a two list of wrong and bad things that he did in the army. He was the father of recreation of Israeli armies to make it small and smart. This was the slogan: smart, small and smart, i.e. less people, less tanks, less cannons, less soldiers, and this will be all okay. This was wrong. It was wrong. And Israel was lucky in a way that Hezbollah did not open the attack on Israel.
Second front.
Yes, on that day. Hamas wanted to show that they are the only one who are dependable to defend the Palestinian nation. And the nucleus of they don't have politics. Their politics is a radical religion. A radical religion. You don't make, you know, allies or compromise with Hitler or with
It's whoever wants to kill you, basically.
Of Japan. You simply, there are certain things you don't do. And
yeah.
Israelis lived. I would like to touch here a point that, you know, to what extent, I know 4 or 5 people who were killed. My relative, who was killed in the Day of Independence. My 2 classmates with whom I lived for 4 years in a dormitory. One day I wrote an article, translated it into English. Amnon Jacobson. I would like to mention those names. Shlomo Magril, who was, both of them were killed in Jerusalem in 1967. One, Amnon, was killed when he was awaiting to enter the East Jerusalem, and Shlomo Magril was the main person who actually sang in the famous battle of the Hill of Ammunition. There is a famous Israeli song, and they mention him not by name but by his function. He was a medical person, and he was saving many people until his entire body was put apart almost from the bullets that he got there. Another person that I knew well, he was. They were in my. You understand, in my class of that dormitory. Agricultural high school dormitory of Haifa, Kfar Galim it's called. And there was another one who was killed, and he was a military man, was a professional military man, and he caught some Arabs and just turned his back to them, and one of them got up with a knife and knifed him in the back, you know. So that things are... Who of those people, of politicians, of akin to even Senator Schumer or Menachem Rosenzaus, who glorifies him, said he did the right thing? It's not enough that you have an idea, and it's a noble idea even, but implementation of it will not take anything of you. You are risking nothing. You are risking nothing. People will die as they died over 2,000 now from October the 7th. People die. Those people, if you watch the Israeli TV, there are stories practically about each of them. And even survivors, you know, they explain and tell what happened. You cannot imagine what kind of emotional toll of the survivors, relatives, family, and more. And all this is being known and has an impact, daily impact on today's Israel. And to hear from the most reliable ally, political and military, you know. And now, what is the threat? United States. Who knows how often let's say, what Israel is lacking? Those are, of course, shells for cannons, tanks, and that's it. Speaking about that, I was talking to you. How many of those? 50%. We're talking about the guns. 50% of 4 tank brigades and 6 divisions were eliminated by guns. So with that world view, you know, how can you claim that you have and one at this point, once again, Israel was slaughtered on the Israeli territory, you can claim that you know better. I would say,
Yeah.
ask me additional question as the song goes, and I will tell you no lie.
So, speaking of Schumer, his speech is rather. There are few words I can use to describe it, but it's abhorrent. Uh, what drives him? What is the underlying common denominator?
I agree. Two things, egocentrism. He even, let me tell you which mistake he said it. He claims that his name comes Schumer from Shomer, and Shomer Israel. But Shomer, and he said the way it comes from. But this word, Shomer Israel, is
It's a Hebrew word.
exclusively Shomer Israel, you see? And he even doesn't comprehend that he akins himself to God. Now, I don't know if it's stretch or semi-stretch, but it's sure related. And if you've seen, you have to be a politician, should know many political things, and he knows, and he is very, very foxy, and he knows all the terms and all the variations. And under his leadership, they dropped this Obamacare, over 2,000 pages. Read it within a day, and Pelosi said, "What is in there?" Well, you have to vote, and then you could read it. It's arrogance. It's arrogance. Simply said there is no time for the members of the Senate and Congress to read and study for a week or 10 days, not 2 months. It's arrogance. You sign it now. Why? Because we're in the majority. And what's interesting is they claim nowadays to be the guardians of democracy.
That's pretty shocking. But people don't take well to. I mean, most Jews, I would believe, don't take well to Schumer's demands and comments. Is that not the case in America, in diaspora?
Yes, I know New Yorkers, many New Yorkers, and they dislike because they feel he expresses, unfortunately, his face expresses glee. Oh, this is the right word. The glee of success is stamped on his forehead and face. And you shouldn't have a glee. This is not time for glee when people are being fighting and killing for their tiny piece of land.
Do you think this is a political game for him?
What else? It's a mixture of political game, etc. And he said, he the top Jew. You read this 16 pages, this is the top Jewish that ever reached this niveau. Yes, he forgets about the senator from Connecticut. What do I call? He, who ran as a VP with Al Gore. So in a way, somebody else was higher than him and much more humble, despite his vast knowledge and experience. You can be, attain. I'm not saying that he should not attain, but to show the power, you see. It's not for by choice, the Jewish blessing, Yasher Koch. It is, you are granted the might, but may it straight you and not to make it twisted.
Yeah. It sort of resonates in my mind what he did, the Schumer. somewhat. It brings to mind a conversation that Kissinger, when he was in his prime in American politics, he was. I think it was a conversation with. I can't remember for sure. Either Golda Meir or Menachem Begin, where Kissinger was reminded that he is actually a Jew, despite being politician, and then he rebuffed that person, and he said that I'm first of all an American, and he sort of distanced himself from the Jewish people and Israel.
But I would say this. I can agree that many people feel themselves who as first of all American. This is not scary and it's naturally, but vice versa. Don't have the glee and don't rub it in, because by rubbing in, please forgive me, you create anti-Semitism.
Yes. Yeah, and it's very unfortunate that Jews have so much inner hate within the nation, and it has been there forever. In fact, if you look at the Jewish theology, Jewish tradition says that we lost Second Temple because of the hate that permeated the nation, and unfortunately. This change of time, it seems that people don't change.
I would summarize our talk for today with a simple suggestion to President Biden, saying that please guard your borders and let Israelis to guard theirs.
Excellent ending. Thank you, Ilya. It was very interesting. And we hope to see you in the next episode.
I'll do my best.
Thank you.
Thank you.